Optima. Visit your local Kia dealer or KiaDealers.com today.
Tonight, the deadly bridge collapse, the 950-ton bridge coming down on drivers in their cars. Multiple vehicles crushed. Authorities say several dead. The urgent rescue effort underway at this hour for people still trapped. Witnesses say some of the cars were under the bridge waiting for the light to change. Also, the major headline breaking tonight involving President Trump. ABC News confirming special counsel Robert Mueller has now subpoenaed documents from the Trump family business involving Russia. And the secret recording the president in his own words, describing a conversation with Canada's prime minister. The president admitting he didn't know, but went ahead and said it. Tonight, what he said. The eye-opening new surveillance video during the shooting in Parkland. For the first time, the school officer under the microscope and what the video now shows. The deadly explosion at a U.S. plant today, what caused it. And unbelievably, we are now tracking what could very well be a fourth major storm to slam into the U.S.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight with that terrifying scene playing out today in Miami. That 950-ton bridge coming down on drivers simply sitting in their cars underneath. Witnesses say they were waiting for a traffic light. Rescue teams on the scene at this hour trying to find any survivors. It happened near Florida International University. That bridge was just installed last weekend, put in because they wanted to make pedestrians crossing that busy highway safer. Police say multiple cars were trapped, and authorities say there are several dead tonight. ABC's Victor Akendo leading us off from the scene.
Oh my God. We just watched this walk over fallen people. There's 2 cars under there.
Tonight, a desperate search and rescue operation for survivors underneath this massive bridge in Miami.
We're in a full search and rescue mode. We have multiple victims. The number hasn't been determined yet.
Multiple people killed, 10 more transported to the hospital. First responders all day digging through the rubble, reaching under debris to find anyone trapped. Just after 1:30 p.m., this 950-ton pedestrian bridge spanning a busy thoroughfare collapsing without warning in seconds.
The bridge collapsed, and we have a report that several people injured at this time.
I saw the bridge just collapse in front of me, and it fell on the cars that were sitting there waiting for the light to change.
Pinning passing cars underneath, trapping drivers under the rubble.
At least 4 cars under this bridge. 3, 4 are going to be unattainable at this time.
Tiana Page said screams coming from the cars were terrifying.
It felt as if there was an earthquake. I watched them kind of pull someone out. 2 people have to have CPR performed on them. I think like 3 cars that are completely smashed under the bridge.
The injured rushed away on stretchers. At least 2 victims had to be cut from the wreckage. They're now drilling holes to look for survivors. Tonight, rescue teams bringing in dogs to help in the search.
Our units responded to find 8 trapped vehicles under the bridge. At this time, we've transported 8 victims to hospitals. We have over 100 firefighters working on the area on the bridge to try to find viable victims.
That 174-foot portion of the bridge was still under construction, installed just last Saturday in a matter of hours, and had not yet opened to pedestrians. Its purpose, to give students at Florida International University a safe route from campus to their homes in the neighboring city of Sweetwater. 5 days after that bridge went up, it came crashing down.
How could this have happened? This was completely recently installed. This is just ridiculous.
And Victor Akendo joins us live tonight from the scene. And Victor, that search and rescue effort continues right now.
David, authorities are calling this an all-hands-on-deck situation. They'll be out here working throughout the night. They tell us they can't confirm the number of people dead simply because they can't access the area or all of those cars that are stuck underneath the enormous weight of that bridge. David?
Just a horrific scene there. And Victor, as you know, there are a lot of questions tonight about that new bridge built beforehand and then trucked to the scene. And tonight we have just learned that the NTSB is now investigating. And look at this video tonight showing workers putting the 174-foot bridge right into place. It took them just hours to do that over the weekend, last weekend. ABC's David Curley tonight on this part of the story.
The remnants of some of the 950 tons of concrete and steel were part of what is known as an ABC bridge, accelerated bridge construction. Some dub it an instant bridge. In fact, that pre-built span, in a matter of hours over the weekend, was moved into place. Traffic was soon traveling below. The idea is to build the bridge span, in this case on the side of the road, keeping workers and drivers safe, and then in less than a day, put the span in place with little disruption of traffic. 800 bridges have been built this way or with pre-built elements since 2010. The Federal Transportation Department lauds this type of construction and paid most of the $14 million for this bridge, which was supposed to withstand a Category 5 hurricane and last 100 years.
It usually is safer because they're doing all the construction away from the traveling public.
Now, federal investigators from the NTSB will try to determine, was it a design flaw, a material or construction issue? Both the bridge architect and the Miami construction firm say they are stunned by the tragic collapse and will fully cooperate with the investigation.
So let's get to David Curley. He's with us live tonight. And David, federal investigators are now on the way, and you're learning that the engineering company was actually conducting stress tests on that bridge today?
Another company, according to Sweetwater City officials, this engineering firm doing a stress test in the morning. It's unclear, David, whether the test had been completed or was ongoing when the bridge collapsed. David?
A lot more to come on this. David Curley, thank you. We turn now to the major headline involving President Trump tonight. ABC News now confirming that Special Counsel Robert Mueller has issued subpoenas to the Trump family business for documents related to Russia. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl tonight.
Tonight, a sign the Russia investigation is expanding. ABC News has confirmed Special Counsel Robert Mueller subpoenaed the Trump family business for any documents related to Russia. The subpoena, first reported by the New York Times, was issued sometime over the past several weeks. The president has repeatedly denied having any business dealings in Russia.
Speaking for myself, I own nothing in Russia. I have no loans in Russia. I don't have any deals in Russia.
A source familiar with the investigation tells ABC News the new subpoena is an indication the special counsel investigation has obtained information raising more questions about the financial dealings of the Trump organization. In an interview with the New York Times last summer, President Trump said the special counsel would be crossing a red line if it expanded into areas related to Trump business dealings.
Mueller was looking at your finances, your family's finances, unrelated to Russia. Is that a red line?
Would that be a breach of what his actual...
I would say yes. Yeah, I would say yes.
It's now been reported that the special counsel has subpoenaed the Trump organization for its dealings with Russia. Is this a red line? Is the president upset about this?
As we've maintained all along, and as the president has said numerous times, there was no collusion between the campaign and Russia. For specific questions regarding the Trump organization, I would refer you to them.
But is that statement the president made in that interview back in July still stand, that it would be a red line for the special counsel to be investigating the Trump
We're going to continue to fully cooperate out of respect for the special counsel. We're not going to comment.
One possible area of inquiry, plans to build a Trump Tower and the tallest building in the world in Moscow. Plans discussed before and during the 2016 campaign. In an exclusive interview today with George Stephanopoulos, Felix Sater, a former business associate of Donald Trump's, discussed the details of the plans he says continued even after Trump started running for president. Sater says he wrote emails to one of Trump's lawyers saying the deal would help his campaign.
I was trying to do a real estate transaction. I clearly was not involved in the campaign, nor was I involved in any of the political end. And the hope that a large transaction like that would be built, if that was helpful to his run, that would have been great.
And today, as the Russia investigation expands, President Trump joined with the leaders of Britain, France, and Germany in condemning Russia for the poison attack on a former Russian spy and his daughter in England. This comes 3 days after Theresa May blamed Russia for the attack.
Do you think Putin was behind this, Mr. President?
It looks like it. I spoke with the Prime Minister, and we are in deep discussions, a very sad situation. It certainly looks like the Russians were behind it, something that should never, ever happen.
Jonathan Karl with us again tonight live at the White House. And John, the Trump administration also announcing sanctions on Russia for cyber attacks during the 2016 elections. These sanctions, as we know, came 9 months after they were approved by Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, 98-2, many asking why it took so long. But John, as you point out, though, this goes even further than meddling in the election.
It sure does. In addition to imposing the sanctions over the election meddling, the U.S. government is accusing the Russians of waging a campaign, a cyber campaign, to infiltrate the U.S. Energy Secretary. A senior administration official said today that this campaign is ongoing and long-term. David, this is a new and serious allegation by the Trump administration against the Russian government.
John Carl at the White House tonight. John, thank you. Also this evening, President Trump, in his own words, the secret recording, what he said about a conversation he had with Canada's Prime Minister. Here's ABC's Chief Global Affairs Correspondent Martha Raddatz tonight.
I've always been truthful with Prime Minister Trudeau. Thank you very much.
No boasting from President Trump today, but last night at a Missouri fundraiser, it was classic Trump. In a secret recording obtained by NBC News, telling his supporters that he was essentially winging it with Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau when countering Trudeau's claims that the U.S. had no trade deficit with Canada.
Nice guy, good-looking guy comes in. Donald, we have no trade deficit. He's very proud because everybody else, was getting killed with him. So I said, wrong, Justin, you do. I didn't even know. Josh, I had no idea. I just said you're wrong. You know why? Because we're so stupid.
That got a laugh, but there was no joking today. Canada pointing to the U.S. government website that shows there is an overall surplus, not a deficit, to the tune of $12.5 billion in 2016. That did not convince the president. Instead, doubling down, tweeting this morning, "We do have a trade deficit with Canada, as we do with almost all countries, some of them massive." The White House says the president was talking about only the deficit in goods with Canada, omitting the large surplus the U.S. has in services.
So let's get to Martha Raddatz with us live tonight as well. So Martha, as you report there, the Canadians pointing to our own government website and our numbers?
Yeah, David, they stuck with that low-key, unfazed Canadian style, simply forwarding those statistics from the U.S. Trade Representative that show an overall surplus, factoring in both goods and services. David.
All right, Martha Raddatz with us tonight. Martha, thanks. Next tonight, newly released surveillance video raising questions about the police response to the deadly shooting at the school in Parkland, Florida. Video now showing former Deputy Scott Peterson outside the school for 27 minutes as 17 people were being shot and killed. Peterson and a staff member are seen heading toward the building in a golf cart right there. He then takes up a position outside the building. His lawyer claims Peterson believed the shooting was taking place outside. He retired rather than face possible suspension. We turn now to the school scare in the same community in South Carolina that witnessed that deadly church shooting. You'll remember when Dylan Roof went into the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church and killed so many. Tonight, his sister Morgan Roof has been arrested for allegedly bringing knife and pepper spray and drugs to school. Her brother is now on death row for killing 9 people at that church. Morgan Roof also accused of posting disturbing messages online. Here's ABC's Steve Osunsami.
This was happening as students across the country were walking out of school protesting gun violence. School administrators at AC Flora High School in Columbia, South Carolina were racing to find 18-year-old Morgan Roof. She had just shared this message on social media that was read by other students, saying that she hoped the walkout was a trap and that students get shot. We know it's fixing to be nothing but black people walking out anyway. When they found her, police say she was carrying marijuana, pepper spray, and a knife. She was arrested, and even the governor is saying that a potential tragedy was avoided at the high school. The teenager's comments about black people strike a nerve because she's the younger sister of this young man, Dylan Roof, who's seen here entering a black church in Charleston where he killed 9 people in 2015 and spoke proudly about wanting to start a race war.
Well, I don't like what black people do.
Dylan Roof tonight is on death row in Indiana. His sister, who has not yet entered a plea, is out on bond. David?
Steve, thank you. Now to the stunning fall of a former CEO described as America's youngest self-made female billionaire. Elizabeth Holmes charged with massive fraud. Her company Theranos claiming to revolutionize blood testing, diagnosing hundreds of diseases with just a pinprick. But were those results accurate, and did they do all that they promised? Here's ABC's chief business correspondent Rebecca Jarvis tonight.
Once celebrated as the next Steve Jobs,
we've made it possible to run comprehensive laboratory tests from a tiny sample
Elizabeth Holmes, founder of healthcare startup Theranos, charged by the SEC with massive fraud. The 34-year-old and her top associate claimed they had created revolutionary technology